Welcome everyone, this is Trina from All Cosmopolite, and thank you for tuning into episode 2 of She of the Throne. I'm greeting you on Christmas Eve, year 2019, and a lot has happened coming up to this point, and I did a lot of pondering on the podcast before getting to this point right here where I'm recording, because I was struggling with what I wanted to say in episode 2 because, on the one hand, like I mentioned before, I have a list of topics that I'd like to cover, right? But since October, there has just been a theme, which I feel like the more a person becomes connected to Earth, to nature, to the seasons, and to themselves, they will realize that this will occur every year around this time in October, because we go into the season of Scorpio. The sun goes into Scorpio, right? And Scorpio highlights a very huge theme of death, rebirth, therefore resurrection. It has the theme of the phoenix, of transformation, transmutation, undergoing a huge change, a huge transformation to rise back up. And during that time in October, especially the powerful full moon, then I was dealing with and transmuting a lot that had to do with the feminine collective, but especially the feminine collective in my lineage, my ancestors. A lot of pain, a lot of wounds that centered around abuse, betrayal, I felt it strongly. Everything kind of aligned, right? Because I ended up joining this e-class with some lovely women, and it was centered around womb wisdom. The womb and a lot of different things, and a lot of things that had to do with that, with womb wisdom being connected to the phases of the moon, honoring our womb, honoring our bodies, and the phases of the moon, and the phases of our cycle, our menstrual cycle. And during this time, a lot came up, so I was blessed to have this extra sacred space that I had not had before, where I could openly share with them things that were arising. And that's something that I have been praying and setting intentions for a while, to have a sisterhood and to create a sisterhood. So I was blessed with this chance to be vulnerable and to share within this sacred space that we created each time we came together. And so during that time, the full moon in October, it was pretty huge. And I was also communing with Santa Maria. For those who know me, who already know what I'm talking about. For those who don't, I refer to cannabis as Santa Maria. I feel like the consciousness within cannabis is Saint Mary, right? I mean, everyone calls cannabis, not everyone, but a lot of people, Mary Jane, right? Well, for me in my journey, I have felt like I've needed to approach her with reverence and a certain amount of fear that's based in respect. It's not about fear, but more about respect, because she's very powerful. And that's funny coming from me, because I've sat and drank the tea, ayahuasca. I did that for 9 months. It's so powerful. So people find it funny when I say that Santa Maria is very, very intense for me. But that's just how it is. Plant medicine works with everybody in different ways. So my new plant teacher, Santa Maria, I communed with her starting in October. So at that time, that combined with the full moon and the sacred space with women during this e-course, I noticed that I was experiencing feelings, thoughts, sensations within my body, sadness, and I took it as my own until I realized it was all coming up from within me, from within my DNA, because of my ancestors, coming from my womb, because I was addressing my womb with a group of ladies, and what came up for me was a lot, for my ancestors, for my lineage, for my family ties and lines, and even women that are not within my family, because it's a common theme. The pain of betrayal, pain of abandonment, feeling pain because of secrecy and lies within a relationship, lack of self-love, feeling pain of abuse and dysfunction, pain of infidelity, pain of objectification and the misuse of our body and our power, feeling anger, like intense, strong anger, feeling sadness and depression, a huge thing, and I'll talk about depression more, feeling confusion and illusions. And as I sat with Santa Maria during the full moon in October, she really made me feel into it. Like, she really made me feel into it. And I rang my Tibetan bowl for myself and my lineage, and I began crying. And then I could feel into my womb. I could feel this deep sadness, like an aching sadness. And I just felt this, I don't know the word for it, but it's like it's like experiencing and knowing without being there. But that so many women in my lineage, and like I said, not in my lineage, had experienced murders and torture of their body. That they had experienced false love, not real true love, that they experienced a lot of disappointment, that my ancestors experienced the suppression of their voice, of being able to have an opinion, to speak up for themselves, to stand up for themselves. So many experienced rape, slavery, and especially my indigenous ancestors. In this lifetime, I incarnated into a Puerto Rican family. So one of our ancestors are the Taíno, which not many people know about. The Taíno were the indigenous, and still are the indigenous, in Puerto Rico. And I know the women there experienced rape, slavery, submission, a lot of mistreatment. Also, the indigenous from Africa, West Africa, they're also my ancestors. I don't know if you know much history about the Caribbean, about Puerto Rico, or what Columbus did, and whatever you want to call them, pioneers, conquistadors, colonialists. But they brought the enslaved indigenous to the Caribbean before they went to North America. So they also experienced all this pain that I'm mentioning. And in general, my ancestors experienced love triangles. You got to think about how in the past there were so many arranged marriages. Women didn't really want to marry the man they were being arranged to. I know they experienced infidelity, right? Their partner not being loyal to them. You know, maybe having mistresses, concubines, however, maybe going to prostitutes, whatever the situation, or having a secret lover. My ancestors most likely experienced prostitution, whether that was their own conscious decision or by force. And experienced bigotism. Experienced discrimination because of the color of their skin, or just being women, or maybe from where they were born. And literally I was able to pinpoint all these things. Like I sat in my sacred space while I communed with Santa Maria, right? As I said, I rang my Tibetan bowl, I lit incense, and I just began crying, and I kept my eyes closed, and I could just feel all of this stuff coming up, and I would write it down. I have a little whiteboard in my sacred space, and I just began writing all this down, what came up, and I was just like, wow. I walked outside under the full moon and danced around in circles and cried and held my womb. I stomped my feet on the earth. I yearned for a fire, to throw things in this fire, to burn away all this pain, to burn away all these memories, to transform all the pain. I danced under the moonlight, sang under the moonlight for myself and my ancestors. This one song that was sent to me during the e-course was a song called Lineage by Maria Stark. Oh man, sisters, I strongly recommend you listen to that song. I will make sure I provide a link, okay? I had the song on repeat, and I just sang to it and danced around and cried. I had a good cry. Let me share with you, my magical sisters, that not only was I honoring the full moon and my ancestors, mourning and transmuting for them during the full moon, but also my menstrual cycle has synced to the full moon. Again, I actually used to be a new moon bleeder, and slowly I have moved towards the full moon to where I now bleed on the full moon. And so that made this full moon in October that more special, even more sacred, because everything just synced up at that moment in time for me to honor my womb, my menstrual cycle, the shedding of the old moving out through me, but also to honor my lineage. And so I set sacred space for my menstruation and also for my ancestors. So it was this really huge thing of moving out, celebrating, yet mourning and transforming, shedding all of these pains, everything I mentioned to you, moving out this energy through my womb. My womb was the sacred space. My womb was the portal for all these energies to move out, to be healed, to be let go, purified. It's no wonder I felt it even more. Felt it so deeply. You know, these aren't just old memories. It's not just old stories. DNA gets passed down. And we all are birthed through our mother's womb. Our wombs hold so much information, memories. And my womb remembers so much. So that was the huge theme for me in October, and it hasn't really ended. I can tell it's kind of a thing that's still ongoing, that I mourn. I'm mourning for my ancestors, for my lineage, for my family, even for myself, because a lot of these themes I had to experience myself. You know? Wow, so heavy, so heavy, so heavy. I began to prepare myself for the winter solstice. You know, cold weather was coming. Winter officially began on the 21st of December, but cold season was coming, and honestly, once Scorpio arrives, it's like there's no turning back. So once Scorpio season hit in October, it's just kind of like, you know, it's like once October hit, and then once we went into Scorpio season, it was over for me. It's like, and when I say over, I mean as in, that is when I had to just allow myself and not fight it, that I was going into the dark season, the season of the crone, that I had to just surrender to the fact that I was going to experience a lot of feelings, that I was going to go deep under the waters and experience a lot of emotions and seclusion, that I needed to go into spiritual hibernation as well as physical hibernation. So although winter solstice began the 21st of December, just days ago, for me, it began like 2 months ago. Well, let me just throw that out there. You know, happy winter solstice. The sun went below the equator and died for 3 days, and finally has resurrected. And as it resurrected, we had amazing high 60 degree weather here, sunny and very warm. So very symbolic and indicative of the sun coming back up above the equator and warming us up. So the death and undergoing transmutation and healing for my ancestors, that was a huge theme for me, and I thought that this podcast was solely focused on this theme for this episode, but I started to undergo some other things, because it wasn't just the ancestral wounds surfacing. I also received some very, very strong light language messages in October, believe it or not, while communing with Santa Maria as well. And usually when I receive light language, I channel it in an auditory form, like I speak light language. And this time around, it came in the form of symbols, as in I was compelled to draw them on paper and on my partner's back, of all places, because he gets extreme anxiety, and one thing that calms him down is when I doodle on his back. I love to do art, so I don't know, one day I was just doodling on him, and that was it. After that, he loves when I doodle on his back. So anyways, I was doodling after I communed with Santa Maria, and next thing you know, I just felt this very strong energy come in. I felt these feelings, like with colors, and it's hard to explain, but then I just started drawing symbols, and as it's like I understood what it meant, but I was also receiving, direct messages from a being talking to me. I was like, wow, this is cool. Okay, this is the first. And since then, well, hold on, I'm sorry. Well, the light codes came in. They were Venusian energy. You heard me correctly, Venusian energy, and had to do with the heart chakra, which would make sense, right? Because Santa Maria is all about heart, coming back to the heart. All plant medicines, at least that I know of so far, that I've worked with, it's about coming back to your heart. But Mother Mary, she is well known for this, to bring you a sense of calm and bring you back to your heart. And the messages that came forth were about opening the heart, not being afraid to open up your heart again. And it was also very personal for me. It wasn't just like a collective message. I felt like it was very personal, because with the obstacles, the challenges, to put it frankly, all the bullshit that I had experienced in the past year or two, dulled me. It dulled my spirit a bit. My heart, my heart has shut down a little bit at times. It's shut down for sure. Just people that I care about and cared about, just to see how they treated me in return when I was in a place of vulnerability and need. So I could see her letting me know, don't close your heart, open your heart. And she was sharing messages with me about relationship, how we learn more and evolve faster and better. There's more evolution when in relationship, whether that's a romantic relationship, right? A platonic or whatever it may be, but relationship as in you have a relationship with a person or people. And, relationships take energy, time, patience, compassion, understanding, communication, non-judgment, so many things for a human being to cultivate, to develop. These are things that you would learn in relationship and build while in relationship compared to if you were alone. Now, you could still learn these things in solitude. I believe that. Because you first have to give to yourself, so you would have to learn that too. And maybe it just happens slower. But what happens when you're around people, right? There's people that are very different than us. So we have to learn tolerance and patience. There's people who maybe trigger us or irk us. So yeah, so she was talking about how evolution is best in relationship. And she was sharing some other personal stuff. I asked some questions for myself, so I'll keep that to myself. But yeah, so that happened also in October during the Orionid meteor shower, believe it or not. It was very magical for me. And I started to experience some other events of communication, messages in my dreams. But then when November came around, well, I got messages in early November, especially around 11/11, which is a very important day for me. But after 11/11, it's like it went quiet. It just got completely silent. And I don't know, I had this expectation that I would receive very strong communication and messages during the Pleiadian lineup, November 21st through the 25th or 26th. And it didn't really happen for me the way I thought it would. Or really at all, or at least with the amount of awareness I have right now. And that bummed me out. But also at the same time, I noticed that in mid-November to late November, I began going through this feeling of confusion and then depression. And then I just felt really jaded because I had experienced all this magic and connection in October. Yet 1 month later, it felt like nothing to me, and I felt really lost. To be honest, and to be 100% honest, to a degree right now, I still feel lost. I feel like I'm having to feel my way through the dark, and I know it's for a reason, but I know that many of you have, if not are not in it right now. You know what it's like. And it sucks, right? It sucks to not really know where you're going, not really know what to do. You feel like you may not know what's true or not anymore, or maybe you feel like you need to let go of some beliefs, but you don't need. If you let go of these beliefs and these thoughts, then what's next for you? What should be uncovered? What's truly there for you to look for or towards? And I noticed I was experiencing just a lot of anxiety, a lot of confusion. I started to notice I was experiencing a lot of different thought forms. And then when I really paid attention to the thought forms, they didn't really make sense. So eventually, I'd say about 2 to 3 weeks ago, I finally realized, wait a minute, hold on. I really need to detangle my energy. Straight up, I realized that I must be feeling and tuning into way more than I realized. So I want to throw that out there for any empaths, highly sensitive people, clairvoyants, that just, this is a little reminder to do some energy maintenance, just to make sure you're not holding on to or absorbing other energies or tapping into other people, not realizing it, and then thinking it's your own. And I mean, to be honest, even if it wasn't your own, I don't know, I've been in states of mind lately where I'm like, why does it matter, even if it's not my own? Isn't this just depressing that so many people feel this way, that so many people are in a state of sadness, confusion, depression? You know what I mean? And even that just gets me down. And sometimes I wonder, is there any point in, clearing that from myself? Maybe I should hold it and give it any amount of love that I have for a little while. I mean, there are so many human beings who are experiencing extreme bliss, happiness, and magic. I was one of those people. Seriously, I was very optimistic, and I'm going to use past tense because I know I'm in a stage right now. I'm going through a transformation right now, so I am definitely experiencing something that, in comparison, it seems like the duality of what I had experienced before, to be completely honest. I was experiencing optimism and joy, and just any little thing made me happy. And I'd bump into people who had similar energy, so it kept the momentum going. And even if I bumped into someone who didn't have that same energy, who was sad or down or whatever the case, it's like it never slowed me down. I'd be able to share energy with them, talk with them, whatever it may be, and then, still go home or go wherever I needed to and feel joy. Whereas now, I'm experiencing things on the opposite side. And, so much has happened. I could write a book. So much has happened to us in the past 2 years that I realized that a lot of it drained me. There were so many things that happened that I never even thought would ever take place. Things occurred as a result of the actions of people that I never thought would do or choose those actions. And so a lot of that affected me eventually, right? It took this long for me to get to this point where I just feel like tired, and like I need to retreat, I need to rejuvenate, I need to refill. But I also need to do some searching of my own, because I realize, and I mentioned this before in a video on YouTube, that the people that I had around me, maybe not even completely physically, but just the people in my life, I considered them friends, close friends, and now where I'm at, I don't really have anybody. I have a few people, and I literally mean a few. Very few. And I've even had to cut even more people out just because I became more observant and noticed things and realized that if I continued to give of myself to these people, that I would be even more drained, that it just wasn't a reciprocal relationship, and or one of respect, or one that there was sacred space. I don't know if you heard that, but doing, computer just beeped. So yeah, sacred space, and that's important. That's really important. And as I've been going through this journey through the dark, and yes, I've been going through it since Scorpio season, but honestly, it's been this ongoing journey since leaving Mother Ayahuasca and meeting my partner and undergoing soul integration and all this other stuff that I've actually talked about like extensively on my YouTube. So feel free to dig through that. But I can talk more about that through episodes. As I've gone through this journey through the dark, doing the shamanic work, I started to notice slowly, and then it just kind of blew up in my face and was just hard to not look at anymore. It's that a lot of people, especially women, because most of my friends have been women, women in this, within spiritual communities, spiritual circles, women who say they are working on their spiritual life, or they are, whatever level of evolution they're at, but especially within the New Age movement, which I started to pay attention to more and more and more now. It's that these people do not want to hold sacred space while a person is going through something dark or heavy, something that's on the opposite side of the spectrum, something that is what is perceived as opposite of joy and bliss and instant manifestation. I didn't notice it at first, but as I pulled away from social media and began bringing more presence into my everyday life, into my interactions with people, and then communicating with my friends that I had online because they're all over the world, I started to notice that they were disconnecting from me. They didn't want to spend the same amount of time with me, didn't want to talk to me as much because I didn't have this online presence, because I wasn't all happy all the time, and I didn't have the energy to give advice. I didn't have the energy to do a card reading for free, deliver messages, all these things. I didn't have things to give. I didn't have anything to give. And that's what I started to notice. That once I stopped giving so freely, once I had more boundaries and I was actually giving more to myself and tending to what was arising on this path of mine, I noticed I didn't have the sacred space that I was holding when I was in the position to give it to others. I would hold sacred space for so many other people and call them my friends. And then when it was time for me, I didn't have that sacred space. Ooh, especially since I'm depressed. Ew, who wants to be Trina's friend when she's depressed? Yuck. Right? And that's what I was noticing. So let me rewind and take it back to when I said I'm now in a place where I have to search. I have to do some searching. Searching within myself asking myself what I truly want. I've never been one to like want huge crowds around me. I don't really like being out and about in crowded places. I don't like noise. I really like being a hermit. I like solitude. But I do cherish friendship. True friendship. And sacred space. I'm beginning to really see and let it develop within my mind, within my heart, what sacred space means and what it looks like. And let me say that you will realize who is really there for you and cares for you when you're in a place, a darker place, a place of pain, and someone is willing to be there with you, willing to be there for you, willing to hold space. Just hold space. They don't even have to give you anything. They don't have to give you advice. You don't really have to do anything. Just hold space. Just hold space for me, please. Just listen to me, please. When someone can do that for you, brothers and sisters, when you're in a painful, dark place, pay attention. Pay attention when someone's being authentic with you, genuine with you. I know sometimes it can be hard too. You know, if someone's broken your trust, right? If you've been hurt over and over and over again by people. But just pay attention. It's precious. That's why it was pretty incredible in October when I did take part in that e-course with those other women. I wasn't sure how willing I would be to be vulnerable, and in the end I did. There was like 2 different days when I let it out. I willingly shared what I was going through. Not all the other women were that open or willing to be open, but like 1 or 2 were, and that was enough. I mean, I didn't even need anybody else to be. I just knew I had to, if this is what I wanted, right? Sacred space, to practice it. And I did. And it was so beneficial. It was so nurturing. It was supportive. It was healing. And it was so sacred. There's just a word that you cannot put on it when you come together with others and create a sacred space, pray together, and open up together, and hold one another. And that's where I am at now, where I don't really need quantity. What I want is quality. I'm in a place right now where the mind is being highlighted. Mental health is being highlighted. It's important. Very important. As I shared with you all, that I began feeling confusion, sadness, sorrow, depression, feeling like I'm lost, cloudy, like I have no clarity. Sometimes I have these moments of turbulence. I won't have clarity. I'm really down. I feel extreme sorrow. I feel like passion has just been completely squeezed out of me, or I feel no motivation. I feel no drive. I don't have a direction. And I'll feel like that for days, maybe even a week, maybe 2 weeks. Then I'll go through a period of a few days where I'm refilled up and I have this drive and passion. I go in and out of this a lot lately. And then I get reminded in some way, shape, or form that I need to be maintaining my energy. I need to be conscious of who I'm around, which, by the way, I'm not really around anybody except the people I'm living with, cohabitating in a house with other people. So there's 7 people total here, which is a lot for me. I'm used to being alone. I work online, so I'm not really around people. Energetically, yeah, there's obviously the potential to have energy rub off on me from my shift leader. But I get reminded to be conscious of my energy, who I'm around, or what I'm exposed to, what is or can affect me, whether that be movies, music, food, if I go to the grocery, if I'm around someone in the house and maybe I pick up on their thought forms, I pick up on their feelings, or they just say something out loud. I'm being reminded that, yes, a lot of it is and can be others, but also a lot of it is also my internal stuff too. I'm being reminded to not pay so much attention to the thoughts, not pay so much attention to the mind, because the mind is, like how they say, like a wild monkey, and that we have to be the masters. We're the ones supposed to master the mind. The mind is like a computer. The mind is like a receptor. It receives information, tons of information. Good Lord, everybody. Let me tell you, we are constantly receiving an instant flow of information at every millisecond, every second, every minute, every hour, every day. And perhaps that is why empaths, highly sensitive people, clairvoyants, we become so fucking overwhelmed. We just want some fucking peace and quiet. Because we're very aware that we are bombarded with information every second. But when you slip up, right, when you kind of go into a state of forgetfulness, you forget that you're just constantly bombarded. There's information everywhere. And you become overwhelmed. Then you get really sad. Then you get depressed. Then you feel chaotic and lost. Next thing you know, you're binge eating something. Mental health is important. That's the other big theme that I wasn't sure if episode 2 was going to be about. Mental health. And honestly, I forget which astrological event it was, but it was maybe 2 weeks ago. It was literally right around the beginning of December, like the 1st of December or something. And whatever it was, the planet had to do with the mind. And mental health was strongly emphasized during this period. So I was like, yeah, for sure, I definitely need to cover that then in the podcast. For sure. But it's I couldn't shake the fact that I have been undergoing a death since October. So here I am just kind of blending it all together, because honestly, all of it is connected. Everything that I shared with you that I'm transmuting, that I'm feeling, that I'm moving out through me, through tears, through menstrual blood, through ceremony, and through art, which I'll get to that in a minute. All of that affects the mind, mental health. Trauma causes so many illnesses within the mind. Anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, mania, PTSD is a huge one. That's post-traumatic stress disorder. There's all kinds of mental illnesses. And within the spiritual community, no one really talks about mental illnesses. Which is silly, because it's a part of health and a part of being whole. Our physical, mental, emotional health, our spiritual health. But yeah, I have people in my life that I care about who have been diagnosed with mental illness. And honestly, I feel like if I had ever went to a doctor when I was younger, they would have diagnosed me with something. Right? Think about it. How many of you are empaths, sensitive, or go through waves of emotion, hypersensitivity? People who've called you over-emotional, too sensitive. You react way too strong to certain things or to how people talk to you. You feel too much, man. Hey, why can't you sit still? Why can't you focus? Why can't you do this the way I told you to do it? When someone's different, way different than the consensus, and if they're taken to doctors, if they're given certain tests, whatever it may be, they'll get slapped with a label. They'll be given medication. Mental health is important. And I'm having to look at that now for myself and for my loved ones. How I can hold space for my loved ones and for myself. Anxiety I have lived with for a long time. So I've learned tools to help me with my anxiety. Nature is my number one cure. I'll let you know that right now. That is why I pretty much loathe winter time. That is why I loathe cold weather. When it's cold, I don't want to be outside because, like I said, I don't like cold. And so many trees are naked. So many animals have gone into hibernation. The flowers have died. Oh, how depressing. So yeah, I get the winter blues bad. I mean bad. Now, maybe a week ago, I think it was a week ago, I went walking with Ty and our baby Wolfgang. And we found a path that we hadn't before. And I was like, oh yeah. And once I walked inside, and once I was enveloped and embraced by trees, although they were naked, they were leafless, but I was still surrounded by trees. I was walking on dirt and stones. There was patches of moss still surviving the cold. I was like, oh my God. I just exhaled so deeply. I was like, oh my God. Oh, this feels so good. That's something else. EMFs bother me so bad. Technology bothers me so bad. And it's so funny because I have to use technology to reach all of you. But yeah, phones, TVs, computers, towers, it causes me so much anxiety. So once I go out in nature, I just feel this silence. It's a silence that you cannot feel anywhere else. And if there is such a place, please let me know, for real. But until then, nature is the number one place for my anxiety. Nothing beats that frequency that comes from nature. The silence that comes from nature. The wisdom that comes from trees. The stability, the ancient knowing, and the quietness when you walk on dirt, on earth. So I share that with you. If you have a lot of anxiety, go into nature. It may be hard for you at first, right? Because when you're anxious, when you're depressed, you don't want to do anything. You don't want to do anything at all. And I'm right there with you. It's been so hard to get out of my room sometimes. Sometimes it's hard to get out of my bed. But it's like, get your ass up, please. Go stand outside under the sun. Get a little sun, Trina. Go outside and look at the trees. You know, today, oh my God, I was so grateful that it was 60. It was like 66 degrees. That's crazy. It's been 20-degree weather, 30-degree weather. So I was like, oh my God. I went outside. I'm blessed to be living in a house that has a back deck that faces a wooded area. And then there's a park, a huge city park, I believe. It's a city park. A really nice one. So the back deck faces this wooded area, and I went out there and I just sat there for a while, just in silence. Had some mantras playing from the phone, and I was just soaking it all in, breathing, just being, because that's not something I can do leisurely anymore, because it's going to go right back to being cold in a few days. So I urge you, any moment you get to go into nature, do it. If you buy some plants, I need to buy some plants. I'm constantly creating within my room, moving things around and trying to bring more peace into my room where I live. So I'll be building myself a shelf soon. So I'm hoping to get some plants. I'm going to lay out more crystals, get my books up, just give myself a safe space to be during this winter season. Something to help me stay grounded, stay calm, help me in my cultivation with peace, with healing. Mental health is important. There are some extremes that occur. There are some extreme quote-unquote illnesses, instances that occur. Maybe you're one of them who goes through extreme anxiety to where you feel like it's better if you die. Maybe you go through extreme depression where you feel like maybe it's just better to die. Or maybe you feel like it would be a good thing to hurt yourself, to ease the pain or help you feel something. Or to give a cry out to the world, hey, I exist and I'm hurting. I just want to let you know I see you. I see you and I hear you. Literally. I'm experiencing thought forms I never have before, ever in my life. I don't really know where they come from on some days. So yeah, some days maybe it's from someone out there who's hurting. Could be from my own partner that's hurting, a loved one of mine who's hurting. And on some days it's me. Some days it's me who's hurting. If you do experience and suffer from mental illness, I know it may sound like too good to be true or wishful thinking or just fluff or new age bullshit, but I want to share with you that energy maintenance really works. And maintenance literally means that. Maintenance means you maintain. That means you have to continue to do it. It's just like a car. It's just like cleaning your home. You don't clean your home just once and then expect it to be clean forever. You have to maintain the cleanliness. What I'm saying is energy maintenance, it's not going to come easy. It's not like you do it once and wow, I'm forever just cured. No, this is about cultivation and discipline. And this is coming from someone who is very stubborn at times. Because, let's see, when I was 25 or 26, I repeatedly received the message, whether it be directly through me or by me, like I received it myself, or someone told me, came up to me, and shared it with me. I would repeatedly receive, hey, sound is important to you. Music is important to you. Implement that. Hey, cleaning your energy and protecting your energy is important to you. Implement that. And, I would listen and then I would not implement it. In this area, I definitely had to grow and mature. And I had to experience some stuff to come to the point where I was like, fuck, I should have listened. I'm done with this bullshit. And now I'm going to do my best to remember, once I wake up in the morning, I'm going to go ahead and clean my energy. I'm going to shield my energy. And you know what? Every time I step foot outside of my home, I am going to shield my energy. And when I return home from being outside, I'm going to clear my energy. It'll take practice. Sometimes you're not going to remember. You're going to forget. And when you remember, you go, oh, okay. You remember, so then you do it. It takes practice. Discipline. And I'm here to tell you that can help you a lot. Pranic healing is an amazing way. It's an amazing tool. I'm blessed to have studied it. If you're interested in pranic healing and learning more about pranic healing, please contact me. I can talk to you about it, answer your questions, and if you're curious about it, we can set up a session. If you maybe don't have the financial means to pay for a session, we can come to an agreement. We can do a sliding scale, whatever it is, we'll talk about it. We'll work it out. As long as there's respect for you and you respect me, that's good. That's good. Because part of my work here is to help others, to share healing. And I want to share this amazing tool, pranic healing. I talk about pranic healing in some of my newer videos. I have a recent one out where I share a forgiveness prayer and cord cutting technique. That's a pranic healing technique. There's another video where I go in depth about pranic healing, how it works, how chakras look to me, some issues that reside in certain chakras. So feel free to look at that video too. For mental health, another thing. Watch what you eat. Start paying attention to what you're putting inside your body, because it does affect your mental health. I want to go more in depth about that in an online course that I have been creating. I end up putting it on the shelf sometimes when I don't have the energy to work on it. But this is something that's been in the dream for a few years now. And it'll be a course where I share my experiences with you and share a detox, an ancient, very simple, very, very affordable detox technique, and a fast. And it's not a fast where you can't eat anything, okay? So you will be able to eat, but it's a 21-day fast, and I'll be guiding you through it. And I'll be sharing and teaching you things about the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health. Ooh, I hope I stick to this and have it ready for you guys by next year, early next year. For real. Yes. So, that's also important, everyone. And sacred space, support systems, they are important for anyone struggling with mental illness who's working on their mental health. It is so helpful to have people around you who are really willing to listen, who are really willing to actually practice deep listening, to be there with you, to let you cry with them, to express freely and not be judged, who's there to give you a hug. And if you're open to it and if you ask, they will share wisdom or just some love, just like a nice meal or a prayer or setting intentions with you, creating a bonfire and writing down things from your past or what's bothering you and throw it in the fire. Whatever it is, however you create the sacred space, that's important. For me, another thing that helps me with my mental health is sound. Mantras. Really huge for me. It helps once I wake up, I just hit play on my mantra, PlayStation. Did I just say PlayStation? My mantra playlist on Pandora. My partner makes fun of me for still having a Pandora, but I mean, Pandora was like the beginning of it all, really, and so I still have Pandora. And I'll usually hit play, let mantras play as I get up and slowly start my day. Stretch, whatever, go make some coffee, go use the restroom, whatever it is, but it allows my mind to settle. It allows and helps my spirit, my energy come back into my physical form. And at the same time, it's soothing sounds, but also very, very powerful statements, words of praises to the divine within, or about protection, about healing. Very divine words of love, of peace. So I offer that suggestion to you too. Binaurals help as well. 432 hertz, 639 hertz, I believe like 741 hertz. There's so many of them, and you can quickly get on YouTube and just type in whatever it is if you need something for anxiety. Binaural for anxiety. Boom. Binaural for the heart. Boom. There's so many on there. But let me just say, every day, every single day, mental health is important, but especially during the winter season. The winter season affects a lot of people because it gets cold, right? But also this year, I'm noticing that people get depressed, very depressed, because of the holidays. Maybe not so much Halloween for some people, yes. But then Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve and Christmas, and we got New Year's Eve coming. I never really experienced depression because of the holidays. Either because I was around people that I care about, or I was in solitude and didn't really care too much about it. I've had a few instances where I was with someone like my exes who were abusive, and so yeah, those times were terrible as any other day. But honestly, sometimes it was worse because I guess they also had shit from their past, and so they weren't the best people to be around at the time. So I'm noticing this winter season, during this holiday season, that I am experiencing more of a low that I have not in the past, that's tied to the holidays. And I know, so I'm feeling the pain and sadness of those around me. The people I cohabitate with, we all come from broken homes, dysfunctional families. I know I'm feeling people from the collective, and also, I've had to cut ties with my family, and so I'm probably feeling sadness there too. It's weird, I never really cared too much about the holidays because of knowing the truth about it, But now that I have my own little family, what matters to me is being with my family. Every day, not just the holidays. So I can imagine people out there who don't have a family, or don't have any friends, or feel like they don't have any friends, or anybody who cares about them. So I feel that. I'm literally down here recording. I've been recording this episode on and off, taking my time since Christmas Eve, which was yesterday. Today's Christmas. I'm here by myself, recording this for you all. I came to be by myself in my room while the others in the house hang out together. I didn't really have the desire to be around anyone, and in a way I kind of felt alone. I do feel alone. I'm not sure completely why, but it is what it is, and I shed the tears that I needed to, and then decided I'm going to record this episode for you all, and that I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to dedicate to finishing this episode and getting it out there. I feel like it's important. It's important for me to make and keep this commitment to myself, and also this commitment to you all, whoever's listening and whoever needs to hear this. Another huge thing that helps me when I'm moving through emotions, when I'm down, hurting, all of that, is art. And you don't even have to be good at art. But yeah, creating helps me to let go, to just be, to express, to just create. And I remember when I first did my first painting as an adult, because I actually used to do art as a kid. I loved art as a child, and then I stopped. Don't know why I stopped. I think it's just all the crap I went through and being so zombied out, and then schooling. It's just so programming. It's just, gets you into your left brain so much. But anyways, in 2013, I went to this art journaling class, and by the end of that class, I had this really pretty painting, and I was like, whoa, what the fuck, how did I even do this? Why did I do this? And we had to get up and share it with the other ladies in the class. Yes, it was all ladies, so that was also amazing for me to experience sacred space with sisters. That was my first time. That's when I realized art was healing. And you may have heard other people talk about it or other videos, because now there's so many coloring books out there now for adults. Coloring books for adults. Mandala art for meditation. It's because it's true. It's been scientifically proven. And I'm here to tell you it does help. So grab yourself a notebook, a drawing pad, some paintbrushes, pencils, markers, Sharpies, whatever your heart's desire, and just give it a try. I was reminded once again that I love art when I had to cover something up on my wall in my prayer sacred space. I ended up using I didn't have wall paint, so I took some acrylic paint and only painted a section of the wall and then let the paint drip down the effect looked really cool. I let it dry. Then I went and bought some acrylic paint pens. Can you believe that? There's paint pens. That's so cool. So I drew lotuses, like flowers, mandalas all over the wall. And I took my time doing that, painting that on my wall in my sacred space, because one, I was feeling really depressed at the time, and so I'd get up and do a little bit and then just let it be and walk away and go do something else. So little by little, over a few days, I worked on this. So in many ways it helped me with my feelings, because it just allowed me to be as well. It allowed me to feel what I needed to feel and move through it at the pace I needed to move through it. Therefore, just working on the art when I felt like it and as it needed to unfold, and not rush anything, and not feel pressured by anyone or by myself, and just let it be. Go at my own pace. And while you're drawing, while you're painting, while you're creating with wood, crystals, metal, clay, whatever it may be, all we have are our thoughts and our emotions as we work on our art. So it's like it just allows you to move through these feelings and thoughts on your own. And sometimes, either you work through them actively, you can feel them within, hear them within, or it allows you to have a peace. It brings you this meditation where, as you feel these feelings, as you have these thoughts, you still concentrate and bring your focus to what you're working on, which is your art. And meditation is the same way. When you sit there and you're breathing, you have thoughts arise, but you are to just be and focus on your breath, not get caught up with a thought and attach to it and run with it, but just let it flow. And then when you realize you're attaching to thoughts, that you're thinking a lot, you just bring yourself back to the present moment and to your breath. So art is so much like that, really. And so that's how my little art piece in my wall helped me. And when I was finished, I was like, that felt good, and that helped me. And I mean, there's parts of it that I felt like I could have done a better job. Like I hit a bump on the wall, and so a petal looks different than another flower petal, and I got angry about it. And then I realized, nothing's perfect, Trina. Seriously, let it go. Why does it have to be perfect? Even it being like that, it's still beautiful. And so that ended up, these thoughts that came up helped me write messages into the mandalas on my wall. Like, imperfections are beautiful too, nothing is perfect, things like that. So I have little messages on the wall for myself. And when I was done with this art piece, I sat down and I was like, why do I do this to myself? I literally create for some time, and it really helps me. It helps me ground. It helps me connect to myself. It helps me connect to higher realms. It helps me move through things. And then I stop creating and I'm depressed as fuck. And then I create again and I go, oh shit, I forgot that I love creating. And I do this over and over and over and over. So I sat there and I was like, wow, this is so silly. But hey, it's a part of being human. So I decided that this winter I really, really want to create more. Not only do I want to commit to the podcast, but commit to art for myself and for others. And I have tons of tools. I have tons of blank canvases, paints, paint brushes, and all kinds of stuff now, and slowly my arsenal builds up. I even have like an easel now, which is so cool. I found it at a yard sale a few months ago. So I really want to get up and pick up my art stuff when I'm down, when I feel bored, when I feel restless, and just make something, anything. Just let it be and let it flow. And so to help myself commit to that, and also to help others and help others realize that they're not alone in this dark season, and to help others realize they can move through trauma, they can move through wounds, they can move through mental illness with art, I ended up creating an Instagram page for it. It's seriously brand spanking new. You can find me at the number 3, okay? Number 3, then Marie, MARIE .art, okay? That's where I'm going to be sharing old works that are already finished, works that I'm been working on, some things I started years ago and I'm still working on it, and new stuff, anything that I create. And you know, everything that I create has a story, so I'll share my stories as much as I can. I really want to be open and vulnerable to create a sacred space where others can be vulnerable too and can find healing, where they can find sacred space. So I hope you check out my Instagram page. My main account is Trina Otero, if you haven't found me yet on there. So that's where like a lot of the spiritual teachings and channeled messages and stuff, that's where that's at, okay? So I hope to see you there too. One last thing I'd like to share that helps with healing, moving through things, and mental health is sound healing. I know I mentioned before sound and music, and this is another form of sound and music. Sound healing in the form of chanting, working with instruments, and channeling. And the way I work with sound healing is I said sacred space. I currently have a Tibetan bowl. I can't wait till I have some other things like a nice big hand drum and some other goodies, okay? But for now I have my Tibetan bowl. I set sacred space. I connect. And I can set intentions, or I just ask what needs to come through for the individual or the group or whatever. And what flows through is like chanting, light language. There's a few dialects that have come through me. Singing. It's always different. And you can check out my sound healing on my YouTube. I have a whole playlist dedicated to light language sound healing. So if you want to hear any of that, you can go check that out. But I want to let you know that I'm going to end this episode with a sound healing. And I hope to do that for every episode. Episode 1, I also had a sound healing. And I don't know, I thought that maybe not all viewers, listeners would want to hear that. So I actually have it separate from the podcast. So unfortunately, those who listen to this podcast on other platforms other than YouTube won't see the sound healing link provided like immediately. But every platform that my podcast is on, there's a description of the episode, and within that description is a link to that sound healing. So if you've already listened to episode 1 but never heard the sound healing, I urge you to go and click on that link, or just go to my YouTube. Okay, just go to Trina Otero on YouTube and you'll see it there in my recent videos. Okay, it'll literally have the image of my podcast as the thumbnail. It's, now that I remember, it's light language and sound healing for soul integration, something like that, okay? But it'll have the image of my podcast. But from now on, I'm going to have the sound healings at the end of each episode, and I'm going to keep it all together. So you won't have to go searching for it. Just going to do it like that. And for those who are not interested, they can just hit stop and go on about their merry lives. And for those of you who would like to sit down with me, whenever you get a chance, you can listen to this as you're driving, as you're walking, as you're eating, as you're taking a bath, a shower, walking your dog, folding your clothes, or you can choose to sit down, create a sacred space for yourself, however you do that, and listen to the sound healing. I honestly suggest that the very first time you listen, you do that you create a sacred space, that you sit down and give yourself that allotted time to just relax, let go, listen, and receive. And after you listen to it the first time, it's up to you the second time if you want to set sacred space again. But after the first time, then, it's cool to go about your business and listen to it however many times you want. Like, I suggest that you listen to it anytime you feel like you need to. I'm just saying that the very first time you sit down for the sound healing session, that you set sacred space and fully listening and really take it in. That will reap the maximum benefits for you. That is my suggestion as a healer, but do what you feel is right or what you'd like to do, okay? But I'm going to conclude this episode now, and we will sit down together. And I say together because I'm creating the space as I record, and it's forever imprinted in the fabric of time. It's always there. This sacred space will always be there for you to sit down and enter into with your intention, with your energy, with your spirit. So we will sit down together in sacred space and receive this sound healing together. I thank you all for being here, for listening, for accepting my vulnerability, for listening, tuning in, and I hope it's helped you in some way. If you have any questions about anything I've talked about, don't be afraid to reach out. I wish you well. Happy winter solstice. Happy season through darkness, through death and resurrection. Happy season of the crone. May you shed all that you need to. May you die as many times as you need to be reborn. I wish you all well, and I will see you virtually, spiritually, in the year 2020. Namaste. Mitakwe Oyasin. Aloha nui. Thank you. Thank you, dear one, for joining me in this sacred space. I'm calling forth and calling upon your guardians and your guides that are assisting you through this lifetime, assisting you and helping you for your absolute highest good. I'm calling upon them to be with you in this moment, in this sacred space, to surround you, protect you, shield you from lower vibrational energies, from external energies that are affecting you, affecting your physical, your mental, your emotional health. Calling upon your guardians and your guides to surround your space right now across all time, space, dimensions, realities, galaxies, and universes. Thank you, dear ones, for being here with us today, for your loving guidance. Thank you so much for your loving protection. Thank you for assisting us in clearing our energy. We're clearing this space, we're clearing our space across all time, space, dimensions, realities, galaxies, and universes. So be it. I can feel this very subtle yet very distinct message, like a feeling coming from the trees just yards away. Their sturdiness, their wisdom, their ancient presence. They've grown roots, strong, deep, deep roots. Been here so long. The other impression is that's coming from them is the heart and feeling is important. Being able to give yourself space or time to bring your awareness down to your chest, to your heart area, your heart chakra. And even if afraid, to try and allow yourself to feel for a moment and see how that's different. It's different than being in the mind. When in the mind, it's constant thoughts. Whether you're thinking about a particular subject, a situation, an issue, whatever it may be, and running on with it in your mind, whether you're creating a situation or kind of playing out a situation or replaying a past event or situation, or imagining what might happen 5 minutes from now, an hour from now, whatever it may be. Or maybe you're thinking about what you're going to do in 10 minutes, whatever it may be, but you are in thought. That's in thought, and thought is different than feeling. No way, no way, no way. Oh no way, oh no way, oh no way. Oh no way, oh no way, no way. Oh no way, oh no way, oh no way. Oh, 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 oh. We're clearing your mental faculties. Come to understand, when you feel fear, it is literally the awareness of fear. And giving into that fear is giving up power. Learn how to stand in your power. Remember and learn your inner light. Your inner light can extinguish these fears within your mind, but you must realize that. She alone, no Haley, no way, no way, she alone, no Elania, alanaye, Leonu Kurni, Nakanitin. Manai, Eli Launuai, Eli Nauai, Eli Nauai, Kunai, Pikau, Tunai, Ikanatau, Itanamai now, Eli Kunuti Maniawa, Eli Naueawa, Eli Aniawa. A strong feeling, a strong sensation is coming in of playful energy. I recognize it as fairy energy. Energy within nature. If you are blessed to be around nature, seek it, go out into it more. If it's cold, bundle up. If it's warm where you are, you're lucky. Go out into it. Go into nature. If you're far from nature or have obstacles where you can't get into nature as often as you'd like, bring nature to you. If you can, bring nature into your home in some form. Humans must remember the connection with nature. Nature is powerful, it's magical, it heals. Going into nature is connecting with your nature, your true nature, helping to bring you back into a state of balance and harmony. If you give it enough time, you will start to see that the more that you go into nature, that you sit in it, walk around in it, or bring more nature plants into your home and tend to it, You will notice it start to affect your energy. You will notice it will start to affect your mental state, your emotional state. But you have to give it a chance. Perhaps you already knew. So this is a reminder. There is a lively, childlike, playful, light energy in nature that can accompany you, that will surround you, that will help you connect back with these qualities within yourself as well. I felt that message coming through strongly. This is for those that need a clearing, a removal of energy. Shiha now tu kunminae. Shi shu. Shikumi kanu anai. Hakunai kinanao. Heti hao nu kininimanai. Heliao okuyao now. Xiao kumai helina kau kinai titinai. Heni hao, heni hao, heni hao, heni hao, heni hao, heni hao. All things must know their place and in which way to evolve. Have patience with yourself. Have patience. Haniwa. Haniwa. Lu Tao, Kulai, Hiao, Nu Ki, Ti Nao, Kuai No. Thank you. Be in peace.